Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed, and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another round of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. It's a delight to be back once again, and to be honest, it feels like a very, very long time since the last round of the championship, where we enjoyed ourselves at Silverstone. We're here at Circuit Park Zandvoort tonight, though. We've head across the North Sea into the Netherlands. We started the championship in the United States. We fly over to the UK, and then we start the European Tour. This is basically going to be one big European Tour to the end now as the championship progresses. And this is a fantastic way to start it, is it not? We start here in the Netherlands at Zandvoort, and then next we'll go over to Belgium for Zolder and Spa-Francorchamps. Then we'll go into Germany. Hockenheim and the Nürburgring await us there. Then into Italy, it's Imola and Monza, and then we round out the season in Catalonia in some Spanish sunshine. It's a format similar to what a lot of you may have seen in some of my championships before, but it certainly does work, and it also makes sense realistically in a logistical sense as well, so it's always good fun to do. But what a fantastic track Zandvoort is. This is going to be a big challenge for these drivers tonight. Camber is going to be one of the main talking points. There's so many corners here that really have a lot of banking to them, not even including the newer banking which was added in the last few years. Obviously that is not included in the iRacing scan of the circuit, which is much older than the current version, but still, I think, to be honest, I prefer it this way. Anyway, what we're going to do is have a quick look at the championship standings and show you how that all shapes up at the moment. Simon Povey is still top of the pile after some incredible recovery drives this season, it has to be said, but he is now only 10 points clear of Ed May. Ed taking two very dominant wins at Daytona and Silverstone. He has been very, very fast indeed in that Aston Martin. Mark Baxter-Jones is third at the moment after taking a win early on in the season. He is unfortunately not with us tonight though. That means it's up to the likes of James Cummings and Dan Bathy to close the gap, but as you see, it really is a bit of a two-horse race at the top at the moment. Still very, very close throughout the rest of the field. Stephen Haley there on -3 points because he made a car change to the Aston Martin, which cost him 20 championship points. He has unfortunately not been able to recover from there. Looking at the team's championship though, well, it's Tall and Taller Motorsport, certainly standing taller than the rest of them. They are looking very, very good indeed right now, are they not? It's wonderful to see. 11 Tenths Racing just behind them though, very, very close. That's the Team A version of 11 Tenths Racing. This team basically split into two. They were the only guys to have more than two cars when we reassessed the team's championship rules. H Motorsport right behind, of course, Ed May doing a massive amount for scoring for that team. Andy Hopley hoping to join him up there, though. They're having a very good practice session at the moment, I can tell you that for free. DBTRS are next up, ahead of 11 Tenths Racing Team B. A bit further down the order, Shark Esports and Team SRM tied on 35 points apiece. But every team so far this season has scored points, which is great to see. And we hope that that continues for them all as the season progresses. You can see the conditions here, not the sunniest at the moment, but it is getting darker and darker. We're going to be sort of racing into the night, as we have done many times before. It was a bunch of settings that the drivers were all really, really happy with over the last couple of meetings, and I've certainly enjoyed the fact that they have enjoyed it themselves. Now, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen right now, you can see Ed May and Andy Hopley are the two fastest, then Simon Povey and Gary Tall are next up. If we just change it over, you can see it's 1-2 for H Motorsport and then a 3 and 4 for Tall and Taller. It's very reminiscent of the times in the late 90s where it was McLaren versus Ferrari, is it not? But Simon Povey, we watch him right now on one of his many fast laps that we will see over the course of the season. Nearly at the halfway point of the championship now, though. This is round 5 out of 12. Still plenty of time left to go this season. So far at the moment we have 29 cars in the session, which is great to see, one of which is Dominic Brennan, who admittedly isn't as high up the order as I would have thought, but he was amazing to watch at Silverstone on his debut. Very, very quick indeed. Same too with Matus Niger in the SimSport Racing International Aston Martin. Very beefy looking and very beefy sounding machine. We had Charlie Stout make his debut as well in the number 69 Porsche. This gorgeous, gorgeous throwback livery, looking very strong indeed. He was having a good race until a massive accident later on took him out of contention, unfortunately. Mark Johnson was involved in that one, I believe, as well. Same with Oliver Carwadine. Oliver still the only... Actually, no, one of 3 McLarens in the field tonight. We have Jared Coleman back with us, which is good to see. And Andy Marston, of course, the boss man himself in the 111 Team SRM McLaren. A very pretty car indeed. Stephen Haley is back with us in the number 24 Sim Sport Racing International Aston. Paul Goffin going well as well in 9th place at the moment for Team SRM. James Cummings also right up there in 5th position in his Porsche. But as you see, Ed May is currently nearly a quarter of a second faster than everybody else. And just looking at what Ed said earlier on today, he says, I can't get along with Zandvoort. These are his words. Looking forward to seeing the back of this track. And then he messaged me separately saying, don't expect much from me tonight, mate. Trust me, I've heard that one before. I can't manage a consistent lap around this place. Well, Ed, you're full of it. John Roberts is unfortunately full of it at the moment. In the wall, that is. That didn't even make sense. Colin Wynn and Jakub Szymanski in the chat. Good to see you, boys. Regulars as ever. I assume you'll have your usual, lads. Great to see you, though. Fantastic to have the consistent support. Ryan Penny back out on track tonight in that gorgeous number 99 iconic RC machine. Love the look of that car. Ryan's another solid supporter of the channel and of my work. It's very much appreciated. And for those of you that have been watching my YouTube videos as well, obviously my Gran Turismo 2 series that I've been doing, I apologise. That's all I can say, really. A lot of them were late anyway in going up when I was out in France. I got back from France on Tuesday, then was incredibly busy Wednesday and Thursday. Tried to get some edited before I flew on Friday to Spain, and then unfortunately did not get the time to do it. I got back from Spain this morning and have edited more of those episodes. So they will be, I believe the next one will go out on Thursday this week, and then one will go out on Saturday, so do not fret. This is Johnny Elia on his way into the pits. Looked like that car had a bit of a black eye to me. It looked like the livery wasn't quite the same on both sides there. Not quite sure what the situation was with that. Steve Proudly in the chat as well. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Just as we look at one of the Sim Sport Racing International cars as well, Matis Niger, the 327 machine, flings it across the line. Great sounding car, isn't it? The Slovakian driver has been doing really, really well. He was right up there. Whoa, bit of a slide there through turn 1. He was right up there at Silverstone. Very, very entertaining as well, though. There were so many great battles at Silverstone. It was an absolute corker of a race. Some of the guys inside the top 5 and inside the top 10 were really, really on it. And the pit stop strategies really shook the order up. Well, I'd like to agree, Colin, that it is a jet set lifestyle, but it's really not as glamorous as you'd think, to be fair. On my way back from Spain, I've been getting some very strange texts from apparently a number in the Dominican Republic. Which has been a bit of a weird one, but that's an odd turn up from the books. But yeah, it's not as glamorous as it seems. The Instagram posts and everything may seem nice, but it is work. It is work. Anyway, these guys have got some work to do now anyway. As the session ends, it goes suddenly very quiet out on the circuit, other than what sounded like Connery Maddock for a second there. Oh, it's definitely not Connery, is it? Danny Jones is the first car to pop up in a pit box, but who's going to get going first? Ed May is always usually quite fast out of the blocks. Gary Toll's in there as well. So too is Simon Povey. I think Simon wants to try and prove a point here and just get out in front of Ed. Behave, I saw those stakes. Those stakes weren't that big. It was only a 7-digit motorhome. Simon Povey then, the first guy out on track. And as you can imagine, he's probably going to be one of the guys to beat in this session. I've updated the qualifying graphics, by the way. I know last time out, the car numbers which you see there in their big form, they did not actually have the right font on for most of the season. But now they do. It's all about the little details. Anyway, I think we've not been on board with anybody yet, so why don't we go on board with Simon Povey? That's probably why, because the dashboard thing overlaps. But you'll see just what this circuit is like as we ride on board. Now, we've just come out of Master's Box. This is Box 9, which basically means turn 9, and then Box 10, which intrigues me because most of the corners have really cool names, or at least brand names. But turns 9 and 10 are just turns 9 and 10. We go down the sort of, what is the back straight here at Zandvoort, towards the Hans Ernst Bocht. And then once we come out of here, we have the very difficult right-hander at Kumo to deal with. You can see the shark helmet there, illuminated by the ever-setting sun here at Zandvoort. Simon with that very striking design on the lid. Out of the final corner we go. And across the line once again. Look at the speed of this Porsche. Beautiful thing. Makes hell of a noise as well, and it must be said actually, this is a very, very loud car in person. I've seen a couple of them recently at certain race meetings that I've been commentating at, and boy do they make a noise these days. I don't know what they've done to them recently, but boy, they make a racket. Edward May though doing some purple sectors as you see. Green means that it's a personal best. I believe we've set it to white when they complete a sector and it is not an improvement. And then obviously the usual purple or magenta for overall fastest. But this is a hell of a ride with Simon Povey right now, is it not? Maybe the sun might be a bit tricky for some of these drivers that run a higher field of view as well, because it can affect your vision even in the sim when you're looking at a screen. Simon pushing hard right now though, isn't he? Yeah, it is white when it's not a improvement. So, Simon will be the first car to put a time on the board. Will it be valid though? Will he do this without an off track? He's certainly playing it smoothly at the moment. He's a great guy, Simon. He's always giving good feedback on the series and ideas of how to progress with things and keep it as a level playing field. You know, he always wants the best for the championships that he competes in. That, and he's just a really good laugh as well, to be honest. Across the line goes Povey then. First man to set a time. What is the benchmark from him? It is a 1:43.002. Andy Hopley goes nearly half a second off that. Gary Tall is 8/10 off. Danny Jones goes up to third. John Roberts goes 7th. He's definitely going to improve from there. Same with Dominic Brennan, who goes in 8th. Coleman goes 9th, nearly 2.5 seconds down. Quite a long session though, 20 minutes. These guys will certainly improve as it goes on. Paul Stout rounds out the top 10 currently. Ed May goes second fastest. Now Ed and Simon very much locked in the championship fight so far. Barely 0.2 of a second separate them, but they're both a good 0.3 clear. Well, nearly 0.3 clear of Andy Hopley, who is next up. As we've got John Roberts off the road. That is down at Shivlak. And back on he goes. There's nothing camouflaged about that, unfortunately, John. Rob Sharp puts the time on the board and goes 14th fastest. Now Simon Povey and Andy Hopley have both gone straight to the pits and straight back out again. And as Colin has said in the chat, that is a very good starter lap from Saipo. It really is. Solid timers. Whoa, Johnny Elia just pushes it a little bit too hard, loses it in front of Oliver Cowardine. Ollie will not appreciate that one very much in the McLaren. Ollie's been doing a great job though in this McLaren this season, it must be said. He's running very, very well in the championship standings. 7th place at the moment in the 11/10 B team with Byron Crawford, who is 10th in the championship. There's a bunch of guys, though, that are on outlaps right now. There's a few cars haven't put times in yet. Tom Slater is one of them in the 53. He's usually very, very quick indeed, is Tom. Currently 8th in the championship on 52 points. But he is only 4 points off Carwadine ahead of him. That can make all the difference when you get 50 points for a race win. Or at least I think you do. Yeah, 50 points for a race win, then 40 for second. So a big difference just between those top two places, as Ed May has gone fastest by 12 thousandths of a second. So Ed May in that Aston Martin once again. Obviously, he just can't get on with this place. He just cannot string a lap together, poor Ed. Oh, my heart bleeds. Here's David patching, hoping not to be patching up some of the grass here at Zandvoort this evening. Cummings goes 4th fastest, but look at that, 3/4 of a second off. There's only 1/10 between Danny Jones and Dan Bathy, and then only 6 thousandths back to Johnny Elia, actually. It's incredibly close there. But there is a big difference, isn't there, between just the top two to second place. Andy Hopley's in a bit of no man's land there, isn't he, in the middle? Nearly half a second off. It's just incredible pace from these guys that are right up there. Ed May clearly on a good lap. He was flashing the lights. He decides to back out of it. That was Paul Stout that was just in front of him, I believe. Yes, it is, in the Manti Racing livery. Now, Ed has pulled over to one side. Are we going to see him pop up into the pits? Yes, he is in the pits now, so he's decided to tow it. Where's Gary Tall in all this? Gary's 8th at the moment. He was 4th fastest in practice, so we'll see whether he can get back up there and support his teammate in the latter stages. Love this car as well. Gorgeous looking machine, the Tall and Taller Motorsport car. I believe it is one of Stephen Haley's designs, Digital Motor Art. You can see the stickers actually on the rear corners. Links obviously in the description of the stream for all of our partners in the championship. We always do thank them. Their logos are all in the top right corner as well. It's Blinds to Go, Crockery Direct, Digital Motor Art, Mydas Simulation, Orris Digital, if I can say it right, sorry boys, Shark eBikes, and we have our own Discord link in there as well. But it's great to have so many wonderful names join us on this adventure. This is Matas Niger just ahead of Gary Tall on track. He's just about to hopefully get his first lap completed across the line here in the Aston Martin. He does. It's a few personal best sectors. Where does that put him? 14th. Just over a second off the pace though. He's definitely going to want to improve on that one. Andrew Soper is making his way out of the pits in the menacing Clockwork Orange Racing Porsche, the number 72 car. Clockwork Orange, I believe, bottom of the team's championship at the moment, but they have still scored points, and that is the main thing. You have to finish inside the top 20 to get points in this championship, and at most events we've had nearly 30 cars, I'd say. I think the smallest grid we've had all season was 27 cars, actually, and that was at Daytona. Since then, we've had 31 cars at each round, which has been brilliant. 31 cars at each round, except for Daytona where we had 27, I should say. So really strong turnouts from everybody in this championship. They've all been really enjoying themselves. You know, there's been the odd few incidents here and there, but that's just racing, isn't it? Whoa, Stuart Clark, big slide there. Big slide. You've got to love a bit of that, though. Andy Marston's about to improve his lap time by the look of it. You can see a lot of green sectors on the bottom of the board there. Another green final sector. Does it move him up from 26th? It does not, unfortunately. 147.095, though. So he's improved by quite a lot on that lap. Ralph Mayer has just improved as well ahead of him, so opens up the gap slightly. Simon Povey has done a purple sector on that lap, and he goes fastest by nearly 1/10 of a second over Ed May. Dan Bathy's done a great job and gone 3rd fastest. Matas Niger goes up to 6th, gets replaced by Gary Tall, who beats him by just 3/100ths of a second. Oh, Dan, hello. That's not as picturesque as Dan would. Oh, that was a horrible noise. Andy Hopley's just gone 3rd fastest. Where is he? There is he. So Andy up there supporting his teammates. Great to see this sort of battle between H Motorsport and Taller Motorsport. You love to see it. 11/10 Racing Team A are currently 2nd in the team's championship. They only have Johnny Elia out there tonight, though unfortunately no Mark Baxter Jones, but we hope to see Mark back on our screens once again sometime soon. He's great to have in the championship. As you can see, a little moment there from Johnny Elia. Paul Goffin is currently rounding out your top 10, just under a second off Ed May's time. João Esteves in the BMW goes up to 19th. Just seeing if there are any more improvements coming in. James Cummings looks like he's done... Well, he's only done one personal best sector, actually. Is it enough to improve? I'm not sure it will be. No, 143.7 for him. His best is 143.5. So just a couple of tenths off his best at the moment. Ralph Mayer crosses the line again. Simon Povey as well. Simon much slower on that lap, but I think he was lining himself up for a good one here. Gary Toll is improving. He's done a few there. Mattis Niger's improved as well. Gary improves his time overall, but doesn't jump up the order. Mattis Niger and James Cummings still just in front of him. Only 0.04 of a second between those guys. We've got Paul Goffin off the road. That looked like it was down at Shivlak. But he's decided to take it back to the pits. The BMWs are inseparable as ever. Usually it's the two Petrol Tuga BMWs that are inseparable. But Fausto Pinto, unfortunately, not on track with us tonight. So João Esteves and Heinz Mayer have taken to making sure that the BMWs stick together on the circuit. And as Colin Wynn has just pointed out, Stout Jr. is kicking Stout Senior's backside at the moment. Charlie Stout in 12th position, Paul Stout in 22nd. 10 places between the two of them. We've got Stephen Haley in 11th place at the moment. Now, Stephen was definitely one of the quickest at the start of the season, especially in the McLaren, but since he's changed to the Aston Martin, it's just not quite come together for him. There's been a few drivers, though, that have always been quick, but have just had a number of incidents during the season. I think Stephen, one of them in the early stages. Andy Hopley as well, also having a few dramas. And they're really the only reasons these guys aren't up there fighting for the championship as well. Just that slight inconsistency not helping them out. Stephen Haley really wrestling the Aston Martin, though, around the first corner. But it's Tall and Taller Motorsport on top at the moment. Simon Povey right up there. Now, don't forget, you get a point for pole position. So it can make a little bit of a difference if you do get that extra bonus point. So far this season, if your car is number 107 or 117, then it's not a bad number to have. Simon Povey put it on pole for the first race, then it was Ed May, then it was Simon Povey, then it was Ed May, so probably now it's going to be Simon Povey again. But him and Ed in the last few races have constantly been first or second. It's been very Verstappen versus Hamilton, you can decide which is which. But they have had a bit of a deadlock up there in recent rounds, whether that be qualifying or the race. You know, over the course of each sort of race evening, I just figure this out. Actually, other than the very first round at Road Atlanta, since then, either in qualifying or the race, at least the pair of them have both been first and second in any of the sessions. I mean, if you go to Sebring and Daytona, they were both first and second, just in reversing order, in qualifying and the race. And then at Silverstone, they were first and second on the grid, but finished first and fourth. As Ed May continues to try to put more laps in. Danny Jones tries to improve, does not. Stephen Haley improves up to 9th place, but that's all he can do for now. He's going to be hoping for a bit more out of this session. Still 5 minutes to go, so it could change that. Whoa, never mind. Oh my goodness me, that's a big old hit for the Aston Martin. Tries to get out of Byron Crawford's way, but Byron's gone the long way round. But that is just how easy it can happen here at Zandvoort. It's very unforgiving. That was a big old hit. Andy Hopley's improved to 143.058. As Tom Slater's had a bit of a problem there. Just lights up the rears and then stops. But Andy Hopley gets closer and closer to that top time. Johnny Elia is 4th. Dan Bathy 5th. Gary Tall in 6th. It's incredibly close between those boys. Danny Jones just inside the top 10. I love this McLaren, though, of Oliver Caldine. I really wish we could have more of the McLarens back out on track. A number of the guys that were driving it previously have gone on to drive the Aston Martin instead. Oh, Gary Tall's been off. That looks like turn 9. Spits a bit of gravel back on the circuit, but carries on. Here is the happy world of Danny Jones. Let's see what he can do. I love the green wheels. Around the final corner he goes. Whoa. Really hanging that out there, isn't he? Across the line. 2 personal best final sectors there by Danny Jones, but a 1:43.78 and his best is a 1:43.77. There's minute differences between these drivers. Whoa, hello. John Roberts doing his best impression of a Ukrainian display team there with his huge plume of smoke. But there are tiny, tiny differences between these guys stringing a lap together and just running a little bit wide out of a corner or having to compromise themselves. This circuit is so, so difficult. And it's a busy track as well, look. You can see, sort of contrary to what I've said actually, there's a few bits where it's very empty, to be honest. I mean, the final corner right now, we've got Paul Stout just coming into there. And he's got a lot of ground around him where he doesn't have to worry, he doesn't have to push too hard. He doesn't have to focus on what other drivers are doing. Across the line he goes then to start another lap. Now he had 2 personal best sectors on that previous one, but no improvement. Here's Mydas Simulation. Unfortunately, we don't have Cameron Fife with us tonight either. He's had a long day and he's just not able to find the motivation, unfortunately. One of the guys, Andy, actually, boss man himself, said in the Discord chat earlier that we hope to see him back at the next round, which is Zolder. He said he doesn't have Zolder because he bought Zandvoort. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll be seeing him there unless somebody buys him Zolder. It's a very, very tough one, is Zolder. It sounds like people are crashing into the pit lane entrance. Heinz Mayer and Ralph Mayer. Careful, boys. There's Crockery on board. Across the line goes Gary Tall. Any improvements there? Still no. 1:44.2 for Gary. Just over a minute left, so that's going to be his final lap that he's just come on to now. Simon Povey is about halfway around a lap. Jared Coleman looks like he's on to improve his time at least. Does Hopley improve as well? Doesn't look like it. Jared does improve, a 1:45.2, but doesn't jump up any further positions, it seems. Now Simon Povey has done a green sector 4. Same with Dominic Brennan. We're not seeing much of Dom throughout this one, as I think Simon ran wide there and did it. Or undid it, I should say. Ed May's in the pits, so he's not going to improve. Whoa, Simon! Oh my life, that was sketchy. He's pushing hard here. Dominic Brennan's improving as well. We'll have to keep our eye on him in just a sec. Across the line goes Povey. Is it an improvement? No. 1:42.9. Brennan crosses the line. He's 13th at the moment. Jumps up to 10th. A 1:43.6. Pushes Danny Jones outside of the top 10. Ed May saying traffic ended his hopes right at the end. Painful, but that's part of racing. João Estevez. Whoa, hello. Having a very big moment there. Now who's finishing laps? David Patching has just crossed the line. James Cummings is coming across the line as well, pardon the pun. Mydas Simulation. Yeah, he's decided to call that lap a day. Now Simon Povey is apparently on it here. We'll have to see. You can see all of the times cycling across at the bottom as people cross the line. No major improvements coming on. Simon has not improved either, actually, on this lap. But he's pushing. Are we going to see any improvements in the latter stages of this lap? He's using all of the road. And no, he's backed out of it. So that's the end of that. Stephen Haley clearly not improving either by the body language of that car. Dominic Brennan, well, for a second there the sector went green, but clearly not. Charlie Stout's not far behind him. Tom Slater is also improving right at the end of the session. Only in one sector so far, though. You've got to do a little bit more than just one sector on most occasions. Lost a few frames just a moment ago. Sorry about that. We have been having a number of blips in our internet recently again, which is a real shame. It's not happened over winter or anything. Whoa, that's a big moment for Charlie Stout. That's a very big moment for Charlie Stout. Drops the wing at the last second. Oliver Carwadine says, well, never mind. That's a shame. And that is going to be the end of the session because Stephen Haley is the only other car out on track. And the timer has already ticked to 0. So we have everybody all done and dusted. And we just wait now for the session to finish ticking over. As you see, the shadows are getting very long here at Zandvoort. It's very pretty indeed. It is a circuit I really want to visit in my real-world commentary ventures. I'm sure I will at some point. Clio Cup go there this year, but unfortunately I'm not around to cover that one. But that was a very, very good qualifying session. Simon Povey takes another pole position. Ed May right with him. Andy Hopley up there as well. And Johnny Elia in 4th. That's a great result. Dan Bathy is going to round out the top 5. We'll go through the grid just now, while all of the drivers and teams get the cars on the grid. Simon Povey then. Pole position for Simon. Ed May alongside him. Then Andy Hopley and Johnny Elia on row 2. Then we have Dan Bathy and Gary Tall. Mattis Niger and James Cummings are on row 4. Stephen Haley 9th ahead of Dominic Brennan. That's an interesting 5th row. Danny Jones and Paul Goffin make up row 6. Charlie Stout and Stuart Clark are on row 7 ahead of Rob Sharp and Tom Slater. We've not actually had Rob on our screens yet this evening, unfortunately. Byron Crawford 17th, John Roberts 18th. Then it's Oliver Carwadine and João Estevez. Heinz Mayer makes sure that the two BMWs stick together ahead of Paul Stout in 22nd. Then it is David Patching and Jared Coleman on row 12. Behind them is Ralph Mayer and Andrew Marston. Then it's Ryan Penny and Andrew Soper on row 19. Oh, sorry, on row 14, I should say. Flipping heck. Mark Johnson is 29th at the back of the field. I'm not sure we're actually going to get Mark. And for some reason, we have a standing start. Well, that's not good, is it? For some reason, it's defaulted to a standing start here. So that's on me. Apologies. Oh no. Well, I'm going to have to apologise now in the Discord. You'll hear me typing. That is a big muck up on my part. We're going to get the race underway though. Everybody's going to get started. Round 5 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is underway. Simon Povey's going to hate me even more for the fact that he's just jumped the start, as I'm pretty sure anyway. Oh, and there's big argy-bargy behind. There's contact at the back. It sounded like one of the BMWs getting into trouble. Look at this, nearly 3 wide at the front though. Johnny Elia looking down the inside. Dan Bathy's got a front row seat for it all. João Estevez was in the middle. He was the main BMW involved in what I think was contact. It sounded like somebody hit the wall anyway. Excuse the frame rate. But at the front, Simon Povey still leads, so we'll have to see whether he has to serve a drive-through penalty of any sort. It's not something they would have practiced because we should be having rolling starts. And I feel I may be in a lot of trouble with these boys. But yeah, we usually do have rolling starts in the championship, but that is, well, what's done is done now, unfortunately. Andy Hopley chucks it down the inside of Dan Bathy now. Don't forget, he started 3rd on the grid as Paul Goffin has gone around. He has to watch the rest of the field make their way through before continuing on. He's got to go a long way around as well to get back on. That was a nice move by Hopley, but after losing places off the start, he needs to make them back quickly. Stephen Haley has dropped a place off the start as well. Rob Sharp, clearly good at standing starts because he's gained 4 places. Paul Stout has gained 5 as well, so he's clearly been practicing them. Jared Coleman's done well, Ryan Penny also, and Andrew Soper. We do not have Mark Johnson in this one by the look of it, I'm afraid. End of lap 1 though, and look who's at the front. Simon Povey and Ed May. Joe Oldfield in the chat, good to see you, mate. He says it's the 3rd race in a row Simon Povey's had an incident at the start. Yes, it is indeed, as whoa, Ed May tries to chuck the Aston in. Tries to squeeze Simon to the inside. Wow, that was very aggressive stuff from Ed May. Maybe he knows that Simon's got some sort of penalty or drive-through for that start. He might have got away with it though. You never know, because sometimes I've seen people do more than what Simon did and get away with it, you know. We'll have to see. This is Matas Nygaard right in the middle of it right now, just inside the top 10. He's got James Cummings in front, Dominic Brennan just behind him. Very, very feisty, isn't it? Through here. You've got to love it. So difficult to overtake on this circuit. Oliver Carwadine chasing fellow McLaren driver Jared Coleman right now. Both enthusiasts of orange. One more than the other actually, but you decide. Well, Ollie has dropped 2 places from where he started, so he's going to want to quickly gain them back while the field is still all closed up. We'll go on board with the McLaren because it's such a joy to be on board with. It feels so fast in here. As whoa, that doesn't feel fast at all. Jared Coleman's around. That was a horrendous noise. And Jared Coleman's in the wall. Somehow he's managed to completely 360 it and carry on though, but that's all it takes. Just clipping the gravel. Oh, well, that's a real shame for the McLaren. You can see the left rear has taken the hit there from Oliver Carwadine, and Simon Povey is in the pits. Oh man, I would have cleared it, to be fair, if I would have thought quickly enough. But Simon Povey serves what is a stop-go penalty, I believe. Yeah, maybe I should have cleared that and thought more quickly on my feet. But that would have meant bringing up the overlay and so on. And at the end of the day, if there is a procedure, even if it's not the correct one, I suppose it's not down to me for those guys to follow it. So sorry, Simon. You know I love you. Now Dominic Brennan's going to be seeing double here. He's going to be fed up of seeing these SimSport Racing International Astons. They're a lot bigger than the Porsche, aren't they? One in front, one behind. It's a very, very beefy, wide car. Looking forward, it's not too bad, actually, from Dominic Brennan's car, but it's when you look behind. And we've got Stephen Haley right in there. As there's battles with Johnny... Oh, no, there's not just battles with Johnny Elia. Johnny's around. And around he goes indeed. Now, this is going to be a long old recovery by the look of it. Johnny Elia drops right down. Oh, and he's driven into the back of Andy Hopley, and it spins the car the other way. And Simon in the chat, I know, mate. I'm so sorry, mate. I'm so sorry. That was a weird moment, though, wasn't it, for Johnny Elia? The car just sort of bounced off in such a weird way. Such a weird way. That's just how iRacing works sometimes. It can be so frustrating like that. The car just reacts in a very, very odd manner sometimes. Look at this stream of Porsches we've got then. Dan Bathy now up to 3rd place. Gary Toll 4th. James Cummings in 5th. Looks like Dan's under some real pressure right now. Gary starting to pile it on. He's going to avenge his teammate for my errors. Look at the way that they move over the hill there into Shivlak. It's incredible, isn't it? The cars really get loose over the top of there. As they get over that crest, they just lose all of the weight and they float over to the left-hand side. It can be such a sketchy part of the track to try and navigate a car around. Especially when you're then having to get onto the brakes, going downhill and then wait for the car to compress through the right-hander at Shivlak. This is a little four-way battle at the moment. Paul Stout just leading João Estevez, John Robertson, Oliver Carwadine. Oliver, like I say, trying to make up those places. Ryan Penny behind, by the way. Speaking of making up places, he's gained 8 positions in this race so far. He's having a corker at the minute. Really, really good stuff from Ryan. Now, what can Dan Bathy hold on to here? We've got the 2 Aston Martins starting to make a break for it out in front. As down the inside goes Gary Tall. He's gone in a bit deep and he's turned Bathy around. Oh, Dan was doing so well. Gary's just gone a little bit too hot into turn 1. And the two of them both losing out. Just as the corner compresses there, just as you get into like the bowl at the bottom, it suddenly just chucks the car downhill. And around she goes. We just lost the connection for a second there. I apologise for that one, everybody. And yeah, I believe Ryan has changed his livery actually, Colin. He did have, I'm pretty sure he had a similar one to the design he's got now at the start of the season, but I think he's just sort of updated it bit by bit. As, oh, Andrew Soper. No, João Estevez has been off the circuit there. João Estevez has just had a bit of an off down at Shivlak. Not the place to go off the circuit if you are going to. But Ed May leads, Andy Hopley second, H Motorsport 1-2 at the moment, James Cummings in third. And James is doing a really, really stellar job this season. He started this race in 8th position. So he's gained a number of places off the start. Dominic Brennan started in 10th. He's now up to 5th. This little battle has spread out slightly here, but Gary Tall now, he is on the back of Stephen Haley, trying to find a way around that very wide and very beefy Aston Martin. Makes the Porsche look very, very small indeed, doesn't it? Already 9 minutes of this race gone, nearly a 1/6 of race distance. As a number of the guys were saying in the Discord as well ahead of tonight, Simon Povey included. We had a very, very odd little sort of transition into the evening time when it was at Silverstone. It was very, very sudden, wasn't it? I think a bunch of you that were watching will remember. Now John Roberts is stuck between Paul Stout and Oliver Carwadine right now. The back end just kicking out slightly. Great to see the 3 marks all against one another. As, oh, there's a car off, and it's Danny Jones. Danny, we heard him hit the wall there. And now he's got to very, very carefully try and slot the car back onto the circuit. Did he just clip the gravel like we saw earlier? Yes, he did. Oh, it's so easy to try and stay with that. Wow, it's a big old hit as well. You can see just how much he wants to get going, and just spinning the rears up on the grass is not doing anything at all to help him get the traction to come back on. Roberts is now right up behind Stout. Ryan Penny's now gained 10 places in this race. Into turn 1 we go. Oh, look at that by John. Lovely cutback move on Stout. He took a bit of a later apex. Chucked it in and through he goes. And the Aston Martin is triumphant. 11 minutes gone. And we go back to the front to this battle once more. SimSport Racing International with Dominic Brennan right in the middle. Although Stephen Haley is nowhere near as close. And then Gary Tall is just behind them. I'm wondering if Gary has any sort of damage from that contact with Dan Bathy earlier. Doesn't seem like the car is too battered and bruised. It'll just be that front left that's a little bit crumpled. It seems like the headlight is just sort of pushed up slightly, maybe. Doesn't actually look that bad, does it? Looks like it's all right. Gary now just needs to try and stick with the Astons ahead of him. Stuart Clark. Whoa, I saw the gap suddenly coming down between these two on my timing screen. Stuart Clark, not Simon Clark. And Rob Sharp certainly getting friendly through the left-hander there as they come out of the Hans Ernst box. Unfortunately, Colin, no, Simon is not running any longer. He pulled it into the pits and has retired. As Stuart moves to the left, tries to have a look, and look who's right behind him as well. Charlie Stout. He's not going to back down from a fight, is he? He's not going to back down one bit. Let's see what he can manage, though, because this is one of those circuits that's so start-stop. You have to be very careful when you're chasing the cars ahead of you, because all it takes is for them to slightly overdo it into a corner or just brake a little bit earlier than you're expecting them to. And they're all very, very hard braking zones as well, and you will easily go into the back of the car in front. And look, you can see Stuart is attacking so hard down the inside of Rob Sharp. Tries it one way, then the other. What's Rob going to do to defend this? He needs to stick to the inside line. Stuart tries to come across. Charlie Stout's got his nose down the inside now as well. Fantastic little three-way fight, this. João Estevez is off the road. Oh, and he's been in the barrier as well on the way into turn 9. All of a sudden, Rob Sharp opens up a car length or two over Stuart Clark. Just behind them, you've got Tom Slater, who started in 16th place. He's up to 11th. Dan Bathy's 2 places back from him. Obviously, a bit of red mist, and I'm imagining will have set in there with Dan. Great battles all the way up and down the order. If we show you currently where the field is, you can see there's a big bunch behind 3rd place. James Cummings not getting away from everybody. Stout goes into the back of Clark. A little bit of a tap there, a little bit friendly through turn 1. Cummings in for a podium position at the moment. But Matis Niger, Slovakian driver, wants to change that completely. Again, look at the size of the Aston in comparison to the Porsche. I hadn't really noticed it that much before. The Aston looks a lot bigger than the little 718 Cayman. Six tenths behind this, or 6 tenths behind Dominic Brennan at least, is Stephen Haley. Then he's got Gary Tall on his tail. And we've had a moment for Andrew Soper, I think. Andrew's just lost a bunch of positions here. What's gone on here? Danny Jones got past him. Whoa! Oh, there was contact between the two. Danny tried to back out of it. Soper just lost the back end over the grass on the outside there into the right-left section at Gerlachbocht. Again, it's a very, very easy one to do. Oh no, Dan Bathy's off. And we know where that is. That is the exit of turn 10. We've seen multiple cars just clip the grass and spin it around there. And Dan becomes another one that has fallen prey to that. And past him goes David Patching as well. He pulls back in just in front of Heinz Mayer in the BMW, the Orris Digital machine. Crockery Direct on the front as well. Part of the Fragile Crockery on board team. Back up to this though. Wing mirror hanging off Tom Slater's car. Flapping around in the breeze. He's trying to get past Charlie Stout and have a go here. The two of them just following each other nice and closely at the moment. Tom was one of the the real drivers of the season, essentially, in one of the previous Porsche Club of Great Britain championships, where we had the Pro and the Am classes, essentially, or Pro and Club, I believe it was called. And Tom was a consistent front runner in Club, but a very, very clean driver. You know, he made the odd mistake here and there, but when it comes to his approach to racing other drivers, it was always very clean. You know, he was always very friendly about it. It's Rob Sharp and Stuart Clark, after a lot of very close moments earlier, have had a coming together. Let's have a look. Stuart throws it up the inside. Oh, I don't think Rob knew that he'd gone down the inside of him. I just think that Rob maybe expected him to just get out of the way. Stuart's still trying to turn the car around, get it back on safely. There's Jared Coleman going past. Oh, it's an absolute disaster. Well, here's your race leader, Ed May, going for his 3rd win in a row. And his teammate Andy Hopley having a much better result. Well, a much better run so far. It's not a result yet, let's remember that. He's having a much better run than previous. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. That made me jump. Tom Slater into the pits. Takes the other wing mirror off. Not a clue what's happened to Tom. Whether he's having a drive through for... Actually, no, it'd be a drive straight through. I was thinking it might be for the incident limit if he's had a bit more contact or run wide or something, but clearly not. We look back again though at Stephen Haley. Dominic Brennan ahead, Gary Toll behind. Dominic's holding station at the moment, isn't he? Between these two SRI cars, essentially. Gary Toll just following on as well behind Stephen Haley. He's trying to keep the fight with the pair of them. You can hear just trying to get on the throttle as early as possible in that little Porsche. We're having frame rate issues right now, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Again, not sure where these more recurring internet blips are coming from, but we're getting more and more of them, and it's very frustrating. Here's Johnny Elia. After his earlier moment, he's trying to make up a bit of ground to get back through the field. He's 19th at the moment. But we've had a number of drivers right near the front of the field have contact or incidents and drop right down. And as Simon Povey has displayed before, you know, the comeback drives are so exciting in this championship. With the 2 usual pit stops that we get, these guys have got some very, very strong opportunities to come back through. And we've seen some amazing comeback drives this season, have we not? So Haley right now is going to be keeping his eye on that gap back to Gary Toll, which has very suddenly closed through turn 9. Look how close Gary's getting now, corner after corner. Listen again to the wonderful Aston Martin, the pops and bangs as well on the downshifts and the overrun. Seems like the Aston, when it comes out of the corner, it can really punch away and up through the gears. It's got some great acceleration, but the Porsche just looks really good on the brakes. Looks like that's where Gary can just gain a couple of car lengths, especially in that middle sector. And then the slipstream's going to really help him now as they go around the final corner. Although, actually, Gary pulls over and goes into the pits, so he decides that he's not gaining anything by chasing down Stephen Haley. And Gary, one of our first front runners to make his initial planned pit stop. We'll have to keep our eye on where he comes back out. The rest of the battle continues though. Just over 20 minutes gone, third race distance. Dominic Brennan now is starting to look a bit more racy on the back of Mydas Simulation, is he not? Looks like he really wants to make a move at this point. You can see that James Cummings is just there ahead of him, and there is potential for a podium. Dominic did get a podium actually in his first race of the season. 35 points he scored last time out at Silverstone, taking a podium right at the end of the race as well. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. It was a hell of a finish. He was involved in that one with Simon Povey and Mydas Simulation as well, if I remember rightly. It was great, great fun to watch. As it is again. Now you can see just there. That was Andrew Soper in the Clockwork Orange car, just shimmying out the way a little bit. Although I think he's just got in front of Stephen Haley. He's tried to stay out of the way, and Stephen now stuck right up behind him. Moves over to the right, flashes the headlights. He's obviously not very happy about that one. But Andrew was doing as much as he could to stay clear. Now, where's Gary Tall in all of this? There he is. If we just change the left-hand side over to show pit stops, you can see only a couple of drivers. Paul Goffin and Danny Jones pitting as well. Byron Crawford has actually just come into the pits as of this moment. So Gary Tall, he's not exactly in clear air right now though, is he? He's got Stuart Clark right in front of him, and then he's got the battle between Heinz Mayer and David Patching. Byron Crawford is on his way out of the pit lane. Jared Coleman is on his way in. But Gary Tall has got a clear advantage over Byron right now. James Cummings is still going well in third, but he's starting to maybe feel a bit of pressure here from Niger and Brennan. I mean, I would feel pressure if I had that Aston Martin chasing me down. Look at it. It's a very, very scary car. We've had an issue for Ralph Mayer and Andy Marston, actually. As well, Andy's gone off, and oh, Ralph's collected him. Oh, and the two of them end up in the barrier. Cars coming around as well, so they're patient and careful about rejoining, but that was a big old hit. Andy just went a little bit too deep, lost the back end of the car on the gravel, and then all of a sudden he was across the front of the Porsche. Now here is Gary Tall and Stuart Clark trying to make their way forward as they go through the rest of the pack. That's the BMW of Heinz Mayer just conceding the position there. Nearly 25 minutes gone already. Goes very, very quick. Looks like Stuart Clark had a bit of a moment there, actually. He was over to the left-hand side a lot more than you would expect on the exit of that corner. Maybe just trying to get past Patching, but this is for position, so Patching doesn't have to move out of the way here. Oh, as David slows down to go in the pits, and look at that read there by Gary Tall. That was beautiful. The two of them slowed down in front of him. He found the gap, moved to the right-hand side of Stuart Clark, and he's absolutely mugged him. Now what can Heinz Mayer do down the inside? Nothing this time round. Stuart stays in front in the 996 car. Very, very close indeed, though. Back to James Cummings. In third place. How long can he hold on to this? Because they're not really attacking him at this point, the guys behind, but they're certainly putting pressure on. Just trying to see if we can see any chinks in the armour. Well, there's one. Into the pits they go, and Dominic Brennan carries on, so Dominic's clearly saved a bit of fuel here. So he can manage to do a couple more laps. Ed May and Andy Hopley have both come in as well. Ed May's car has gone up on the jacks here. So too has Andy's. Oh, it looked like Mydas Simulation just overshot his box slightly there. Everybody else is coming into the pits by the look of it. Now, Ed and Andy, do they know something that everyone else doesn't hear? Are they going to lose time, gain time? Well, Ed's out of the pits before everybody else. Andy's out as well. Mydas and the other boys are, well, they're not really gained any time on them there. Ed May took tyres. Gary Tall's pit stop. Oh, as he goes through there, just ahead of Mydas Simulation. Gary Tall was in the pits for 20.3 seconds. Everyone else is over 24 seconds. But Ed May was 24 seconds stationary. After taking tyres, Mydas Simulation was stationary for 25.5. So maybe Ed knows something that we don't there. John Roberts is now up into 10th place. Oliver Carwadine is 11th. They've both gained 8 places each. Byron Crawford's gained 10 spots so far in this race. He was in the pits for 20 seconds. Paul Goffin was in the pits for 7 seconds. I think he pitted a bit earlier, actually. Yeah, he pitted at the end of lap 1, actually. So Paul is maybe a lap or 2 out. This is Tom Slater on Jared Coleman. The field isn't that mixed up at the moment. Ralph Mayer hasn't pitted yet, so he's slightly out of sync. If we show you that on the left-hand side, you can see him there in 21st position. Dominic Brennan is into the pits now, actually. He's made his way in and will come to a halt. Now, where is Ed May in all of this? Here is Ed, just coming into the penultimate corner now. There's another car on its way into the pits. Is Andrew Soper. Doesn't sound like that Aston's really at full chat, does it? It may sound beefy and everything, but it just, I don't know, around that final corner it didn't sound convincingly fast, did it? Ed certainly makes it convincingly fast. There's his teammate Andy Hopley across the line. Now, where is Dominic Brennan in all of this? Here he is. Now, where is Gary Tall? There is Gary. He's going to go around him. Now, where are the SimSport Racing International Astons? Mydas Simulation tries to go past Dominic Brennan, but Brennan is out in front. Brennan has done it. He was 0.3 of a second quicker in his pit stop. That's all it was, but he's out now in front of both of the Aston Martins. He spent pretty much the whole first stint trying to get around those boys. And now he's in front of the pair of them. Stephen Haley, though, in 6th. Byron Crawford, though, started 17th on the grid. He's currently flying in 10th position. Good stuff by Byron. John Roberts inside the top 10 as well. Started 18th on the grid. Oliver Carwadine started 19th on the grid. Some phenomenal drives through the order. Ryan Penny, well, he'd gained the most places out of everybody earlier. Now he's gained 13 spots, says Ryan. So car 99 is certainly on the move, it is safe to say. Just under the radar, doing what needs to be done. Looks good as well doing it though, doesn't it? Right then, so we've got this little quartet right now. This is Mydas Simulation attacking Dominic Brennan. Stephen Haley just behind, Gary Tall just in front. Maybe if we go to Stephen, we might get all 4 of them in one shot, maybe. If we move forward slightly to Mydas Simulation, we'll definitely get these 3. They're a little bit closer. Ed May does the fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.1. Oh, Mydas runs a little bit wide. Look at the slipstream there, taking Dominic Brennan right up to Gary Tall. Gary's had a very tough season with incidents and all sorts. He's going to be hoping that that fortune changes tonight, especially as his teammate has retired. He's trying to make up the points for Tall and Taller Motorsport. Great little scrap though. Once again, the best scraps in the field coming from inside the top 10, right up at the sharp end. We're very spoilt with that sort of racing in this championship. We're over halfway now, 31 minutes gone of this hour-long race. And the lighting conditions certainly looking beautiful once again, as they do here at Zandvoort. Ryan Penny has just had a bit of a moment, I think, there. James Cummings has just got past him. And Ryan lost a bit of ground in whatever's happened there. He's a little bit slower into the left-hander as well. Hopefully nothing wrong at Ryan's end there. Back further up the order with these guys. And Brennan, well, started 10th on the grid. We thought he was a little bit further down than we usually see him. But so far he's done a mega job. That's Ralph Mayer on the left-hand side. Everybody just tries to avoid. Stephen Haley throws it up the inside. Seeing those two teammate Aston Martins together looks great, doesn't it? Now, in terms of the cars scoring points this season, the teams have to, if they have more than 2 cars, they have to nominate which 2 cars will score the points for the teams. If they have 4 cars, then they basically split into 2 teams. But SimSport Racing International have 3 cars. That is Stephen Haley and Mydas Simulation that we see here. But also Cameron Fife. But they have basically concluded that these 2 are going to be the ones scoring points. And based on the fact that Cameron's not here tonight, it seems like it's the right decision for now. No offence, Cameron, of course. We miss having you out there on track, buddy. Back to James Cummings, who is now behind Paul Stout. James was in the pits for 1 minute and 4 seconds, so has lost a lot of time. Same too with Rob Sharp. He was stationary for 1 minute and 4. Tom Slater was stationary for 58 seconds after his earlier issue. Tom pitted on lap 10, everybody else on either lap 15 or 16. Stout having to really defend now in the number 37 car. Charlie Stout is up in 8th position. He's 7 seconds ahead of John Roberts. He's not far off the back of Byron Crawford, actually, so we might have to have a look at that in a sec. Johnny Elia is making his way back through the order as well. He's just 3 seconds off the back of these guys, so when they go through shot, we'll then pan back to Johnny Elia, who's not far behind. As promised, though, here's Charlie Stout. We'll go back on board with Charlie as he chases Byron Crawford in the blinds to go 11 tenths Racing Team B car. You can hear the hesitation on the throttle there as they go around the final corner. Charlie wanted to get on it as early as possible, but it's not as easy to do. And yeah, Colin in the chat, very, very right you are, sir. Good drive by Charlie so far. Started 13th on the grid. He's gained 5 spots to move up to 8th. And he continues to put the pressure on. We go back to this as James Cummings makes a move on Paul Stout. Sticks it up the inside. Paul brakes nice and early just to make sure he can give the room, and he's got the car under control at the corner. And James Cummings moves up a position. James currently in the championship is 4th on 89 points. He's a good number of points behind 3rd placed Mark Baxter Jones, but he'll of course gain a couple tonight at least via the fact that Mark is not here. Now this is going to be a feisty battle for sure. Dominic Brennan puts one on Gary Tall. Gary says, not on your life, hangs it around the outside. Great stuff. Great determination from Gary Tall. And now Brennan's run wide, so Mydas Niger's got alongside. This is perfect for Gary Tall. He needs these guys to fight, because that means he can break away right now. Dominic Brennan trying to hold on. Will go on board with the Aston Martin, though, of Mydas Niger. Look at that, he has to lift there because he's so close to hitting the back of the Porsche. You can still hear it. Hard onto the brakes into turn 1. Mydas, that looks too deep. It is too deep. He's gone straight on. His teammate goes through. Dominic Brennan's managed to fend one of them off. Mydas Niger comes back on. He's got a good gap over Byron Crawford, so not too much to worry about in that regard, but just a little bit too hot on the brakes into Tarzan. And unfortunately, that is as easy as it is to do at the start of this lap. Now it's up to Stephen Haley to get going. A lovely pop and bang there by the Aston Martin as it clears our camera on the way into Shivlak. Tom Slater has just got past Heinz Mayer for 19th position. And we still have Charlie Stout on the back of Byron Crawford. Great inter-Porsche battle here between these two. Certainly sounds great, doesn't it? As they go through turn 9, then onto the brakes into turn 10. So many different lines and apexes that you can take around this part of the circuit. It's so difficult. And I'm not going mad, am I? That livery is asymmetrical on Byron's car. Look at the right headlight compared to the left one. There's no eyeliner on the right one. It's got like one black eye, hasn't it? It might do if Charlie Stout's not too careful about it. Might get pink eye, to be honest, with the colour of Charlie's. But he's doing a good job at the moment, is the young man. We still have 27 cars running in the race out of the 29 that entered the original session. We did get a report on Mark Johnson, by the way, unfortunately. He said his PC crashed during qualifying and he spent 40 minutes trying to get back in. He has asked me to restart the race at 9, which I've just realised it's past 9. Sorry, Mark. Byron Crawford, though, just holding on to 7th position at the moment, doing a really good job of it. Byron is so consistent. He's the champion as well of the club class. The reigning champion in Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing. So he's certainly a man that can hold it together as well. Whoa, Andrew Soper is off the road on the exit of the final corner. That is not a nice place to be. As you can see, everybody moving over to the right-hand side to try and avoid him, but he's got a long time to wait until another car comes around. Let's have a look what the... No, that's the championship standings that I've just tried to open. He does have a gap now after this next car, and then it is Ed May. Oh, now you can go. And it was his teammate going as well. Just get going, but that's a good thing to see, that the patience to just make sure that he knows the coast is clear before pulling back out onto the circuit. You do see some drivers that in the heat of the moment, they will just stamp on the throttle and get the car back into the middle of the road and try and recover without considering everybody else on track, which is a shame. Easy to do in the sim, though, where there's less consequence. As right now, Charlie Stout gets a great run on Byron Crawford, gets the car alongside, gets around the outside. It's all about the mind games here. You've got to make that spotter shout. Car left, car right. Just get into the driver's head. Just tell them, show them you can get alongside. Charlie Stout tries to go over to the right. Byron goes there to defend. Makes him go the long way round. He's on the left-hand side. Who's later on the brakes? They brake very evenly. Charlie turns it in. Oh, there's a touch, another touch. Oh, and Byron's around. Charlie gets away with it. Oh, I don't think he left the room, though, on the inside. I think he was expecting a bit much from Byron there, unfortunately. Let's go to El Chopperino Camo. Let's have a look. Let us know what you reckon. Oh, it was very nip and tuck, wasn't it? Very nip and tuck indeed in that moment. But that's the thing, you can try and pressurise the other driver as much as possible, try and really close those gaps, but it doesn't always work. Can you believe we're already at 2/3 race distance? That's incredible how quickly that's gone. 40 minutes gone, and Stephen Haley, wow. Big moment out of turn 10, that'll wake you up. Wow. He's got his teammate Mydas Simulation right behind him. They look so good together. I mean, these cars look good anyway, but my God, they look good when they're together on track, don't they? Love a bit of that. Love a SimSport Racing International livery. I really do think their McLaren was one of the prettiest cars that we've had all season as well. Whoa! We cut to Johnny Elia trying to make a move on Paul Stout. That was a certain brown pants moment there. As around towards the Hans Ernst Bock. Flipping out. Johnny Elia has a bit more of a gap ahead of him to Paul Stout right now. It seems that moment really opened up a bit of daylight between the pair of them. Not much daylight between these boys though. Gary Tall just ahead of Dominic Brennan. There is the beautiful sunset here at Zandvoort. just behind these guys. The sun doesn't set until about half an hour after this race finishes, so we should get headlights soon-ish. But we will not go into complete pitch black darkness like we have in a couple of rounds so far this season. What we've had basically is a setting that, well, on iRacing, if you don't already know, you can sort of set it to morning, afternoon, noon, or late afternoon, or evening, sunset, things like that. There are set times. It tells you what time it sets it to, though. And what I've been doing basically... Oh, hello, Dominic. What I've been doing basically is setting it to late afternoon to check what that time is and then take an hour off it so we don't get as much of a sunset, if that makes sense. Or we don't get as much darkness. Great battle here, though. This is for the final podium spot. Ed May and Andy Hopley having quite an easy drive up the front of the field, first and second in the two H Motorsport Aston Martins. I'm sure, though, that Ed will have in the back of his mind that he's having... Oh, I shouldn't have cut away from that, sorry. Ed will have in the back of his mind that he's having this as a result due to the misfortune of Simon Povey, of course. I mean, knowing Simon, if he was still on track, he'd probably be in third anyway. We know what his recovery drives are like. They've been unbelievable this season. Gary Tall, though, holding on ahead of Dominic Brennan right now. Some great racing between the pair of them. Here's Ryan Penny, Stuart Clark and João Estevez. Stuart just in front. Colin Wynn saying 11/10's going well. We all met up at Goodwood a couple of weekends ago at the members meeting. Great bunch of chaps. That sounds like a good day out, members meeting. I really wish I could go to one of those events. I never seem to be about, or I always seem to be busy whenever any of them are on. But it'd be great to go and see anything like that. Even just a revival. You know, I've always done the Festival of Speed, but never the revival. I really need to do the Festival of Speed. Revival. There you go. I'll get it right one day. João Estevez in the BMW. Highest placed of the two BMWs in the race so far. The other one is Heinz Mayer in 20th position. But João still representing the BMW 4 Petrol Tuga. Now we've got three cars in a row here that have all gained 9 places. Byron Crawford just ahead of John Roberts, just ahead of Oliver Carwadine, just ahead of Dan Bathy, who's trying to get back inside the top 10 after his earlier contact. Great scraps once again, though. Here is Flying Formation, SimSport Racing International display team. Mattis Niger round the outside of Stephen Haley. He says, not in your life, son. It's great to see teammates battling, though. It's one thing I love in motorsport, is when you see the shackles are off between teammates. And look at this, Mattis is throwing everything at this. He says, no, boss, I want this. Great stuff. Great to watch. Mattis has been a fantastic addition to the team, especially in this championship. He's been very quick. We saw wonderful things from him at Silverstone, but Stephen wants to prove the point. He says, look, mate, you may be the new kid on the block in this season, but I was here from day dot. You're not going to show me up. Mattis runs a little bit wide on the way in there through Sivlak. Then gets the run on the exit up towards turn 9. A little bit of correction just to try and stabilise the car. And then through turn 10, Stephen takes a very early apex. Mattis takes a late one. You can see the difference between the two of them. Wonderful sounding Aston Martins. Here's your race leader, Ed May, crossing the line. 45 minutes done, nearly 46 minutes done. And Ed continues to pound around a 1:43.4 last time round. His teammates actually, well, he was, for the last lap or so, he was a little bit quicker than him. But on that lap, he was about 4 tenths slower. It's good to see Andy Hopley having a good race, though. Andy's qualified well on a number of different rounds, but then just had misfortune early on. There's a number of drivers that have had incidents early on in a bunch of these races and then always been on the back foot for the rest of it. Andy Hopley is certainly one of them. It's good to see him having a good run, though. Gary Tall has come into the pits. He's probably decided that he was losing time fighting Dominic Brennan and trying to hold him off. So Gary is coming for his second and last pit stop. I don't expect it to be near 20 seconds. It was 14.8 for Gary Tall. So that should be enough fuel to get him to the end. We'll keep our eye out for him. The first driver to complete both pit stops in the race. And he's back out, and he's filtered back out in 10th position actually. And he's not far behind Oliver Carwadine either in the McLaren, so we'll have to watch out. Stephen Haley and Mydas Simulation still fighting together though in the two SimSport Racing International Aston Martins. I'm intrigued, and I'm sure we're all intrigued to see what happens to the Aston Martin when iRacing do decide to bop it. Because of course, with it being the newest car in a certain class, it will always have a balance of performance in its favour to make people buy it for that season, and then they will kick its head in. Or at least we hope so it doesn't quite walk the field. It's not really walked the field so far, but it's certainly proved to be one of the, if not the strongest car. Especially when it came to Daytona. I think that's where we saw the real, true class of Simon Povey was Daytona. There's his incredible comeback drive there. Look at this by João Esteves all over the back of Ryan Penny. Dominic Brennan comes into the pits. Now don't forget he stayed out a bit later earlier on as João tries to chuck it around the outside. Loses it nearly. Dan Bathy's on his right hand side. That would have scared the life out of Dan Bathy. He tries to get around the outside. Gets on the power as early as he can. Tries to get a run on the M4. Down towards the Hans Ernst box. More cars in the pits. Byron Crawford, Oliver Carwadine. Dan Bathy chucks it up the inside. Leaves the room. Tries to get a cutback on João. Gets on the throttle a little bit earlier. Is it a bit wide though? Tail end sticks out. Really pushing it now is Dan. That BMW doesn't half make a racket. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Very, very close. He just had to back out of that one for a moment there. You could really see the bulk and the size of that BMW as Gary Tall is back in the pits again. What on earth has happened there? Gary Tall making his third pit stop of the race. 16.7 seconds he was in for this time round. I'm not sure if he's had a stop and go or something for speeding in the pits, but that would be an absolute disaster. He's had a hell of a race so far. Oh, I really hope it hasn't fallen apart now. It seems so, but we'll have to see what he can do. He's not got long to do anything else really, but oh man, that's gutting. Absolutely gutting for Gary Tall. Whoa, 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 whoa. João Esteves. We come back to him and his car is bouncing through the air. I'm not sure if he got a hit off Dan Bathy there. Dan's got a run, got the car down the inside. Oh, he runs a little bit wide, yeah, and into the side of João Esteves. They were both very lucky to get away with that without major damage. Just ran a little bit wide down the hill into Sivlak. Again, very easy to do. So it's Aston Martin's 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the moment. Charlie Stout in 5th position. He's having a hell of a race, isn't he? Dominic Brennan, of course, out of sync because he's had his second pit stop. Same too with Byron Crawford. Dan Bathy a bit further down as well. Oliver Carwadine. Oh, Andy Marston's had a problem. He's come to a stop on the exit of the pit lane. I'm not sure if he's just letting guys go at this point. Yeah, I think so. Trying to catch Paul Stout, who's just made his way into the pits. And Byron Crawford and Dan Bathy were side by side going into turn 1. Dan tries to swing it around the outside. Now these two have both stopped twice, so they're fighting each other for overall position here. This is not temporary between these two. No headlights on the Porsches yet. We might see them soon though. Whoa, off the road, João Esteves. Gets back on. I tell you what, if you have a bit of a moment down there and you don't hit anything, you've done very, very well. To be honest, it's so, so easy to crash into something down there. Back with the two rumbly Aston Martins, and Stephen Haley's going to go through, but Mydas Simulation He's going to make his way into the pits. You can hear it popping and banging on the pit lane limiter there. A bit of a lick of flame out the exhaust as well. You love to see it. iRacing has certainly improved and moved forward a lot with sound effects when it comes to the sort of crackles and the backfire effects. Oh, we've got 3 Porsches all vying for position here. Ryan Penny has gained 16 places in this race. Somebody that's slightly out of sync with pit stops but has also done a mega job is actually John Roberts. We've not seen much of John in the race, but in very true fashion with the fact that the car is camouflaged, he really has been creeping under the radar right now. And he's up into 5th position. Really, really good drive so far from John. Now then, what else? What else? To be honest, this is the closest battle we've got at the minute. The constant pursuit from Dan Bathy chasing down Byron Crawford. Whoa, he has to go a little bit deep there into the left-hander. Just being careful as Ed May, race leader, comes into the pits. Andy Hopley as well, also coming in. The cameraman nearly completely spins around, although it seems like the cameraman is in the wall. We'll glaze over that, or gloss over that. Ed May comes to a stop then. Does the car go up on the jacks once more? No, it's just going to be fuel for Ed this time. Now, Gary Toll's first pit stop was about 14 seconds, if I remember rightly. There's been some of them that are about 11. 10.8 for Ed May. Let's see what Andy Hopley's pit stop is. It is 10.6. And they get going very, very soon. Or very sharpish, I should say. Get your words out, Chaz. João Estevez making his way out of the pits there. This is Stephen Haley. Charlie Stout will emerge from the right-hand side of the screen as well. So too will John Roberts. Dominic Brennan is coming down the start-finish straight right now. Where's he going to come back out in comparison to Stephen Haley? He's ahead of Mattis Niger. And so is Stephen. Stephen was stationary for 10.5 seconds. It's the shortest pit stop out of those guys near the sharp end. He's pushing hard now to try and stick with his teammate. Yes, we are. Seems so. Sorry about that, everybody. I did just continue to speak to myself for a moment, as it seemed like we'd lost all hope, but no, we are back. Oh, again, no idea why these random disconnections are coming back. Not a clue. Ed May gives us a bit of a flash there to say, yep, I can see you. You're back. Thank you. But yeah, sorry everybody. I thought that those problems were completely sorted. I was having them all through last year. And sometimes they're long enough to kick the stream off and basically disconnect me from the session. But luckily that time we just got it in time. So, not a clue what's been causing that. Usually our internet here is a bit of a pain in the way that when one of us is uploading, like if you're uploading a big amount, not just like one image, it completely takes everybody else off. As Byron Crawford still with Dan Bathy all over him. Oliver Carwadine with the front row seat of this as well, behind in the McLaren. Oh, Dan Bathy, oh, wow. Didn't even get his name right, it excited me that much. Dan Bathy chucks it back down the inside, lovely little move. Byron Crawford's going to try and come back at him. But yeah, these random disconnections are, honestly, they're creeping back in, and it's really frustrating because it's always around the same time of night, just before 9:30. My partner and I think it's to do with temperature when it happens in the middle of the day, because it's usually about lunchtime if it's on a hot day. But for some reason, it started happening more at night, which is very, very frustrating. I like what you did there, Colin. Very photogenic by Dan. Very photogenic indeed. Now it seems like my Discord has gone completely, which is frustrating. So Discord is still down for me, which is fun. This is what I mean. It just takes down random stuff. Oh, well, no, apparently not. Thank you, Discord. It's not like streamer mode was enabled or anything. So, not long left of this race left to go now. Just over 2 minutes for Ed May. And he's not far from taking his 3rd win on the bounce. He was the first driver to win more than one race this season. Now he's going to be the first driver to get a hat-trick this season by the look of it, if it carries on. Andy Hopley having a really solid run in this race so far. Number 25 car has a best finish so far of 4th place, but he was classified 13th at Road Atlanta. He retired at Daytona and he retired at Silverstone as well. So a 2nd place is going to be his best finish of the season, and I'm sure he'll be happy with it. Look at these two Aston Martins as well, still glued together. Mydas Simulation all over the back of Stephen Haley. Great stuff to watch. 1 minute and 15 seconds left to go. Ed May is going to be doing his last lap next time round, I believe. This is great racing between these two SimSport Racing International cars. Mydas continues to hold it around the outside. Has he got the move done? Stephen turns in to try and scare him. Car in the pits, it's Ralph Mayer. And Mydas just gets in front. Stephen flashes him, says, "What are you doing? I'm the boss." You can see the massive streak of Porsches, by the way, in the middle of the field from Cummings all the way down to Goffin. Humongous line of Porsches in the midfield. Now, is that Mydas saying, "Go on, then go through," or what? Looked kind of like it was for a second there. Gary Toll is recovering, by the way. He's on the back of James Cummings now, but these two have both lost places from where they started. They're both inside the top 10 and are now fighting for 11th and 12th position. But yeah, you're very right, Colin. Clearly no team orders there. Oh, Danny Jones. Danny Jones is off at turn 1. Manages to recover, but he's lost a place to Johnny Elia. You do get points all the way down to 20th, so Paul Goffin is still on for some points right now. But across the line, white flag in the air for Ed May. Only just an extra lap to do as well, though. And Ed giving us another little flash there just for a moment, just to say, yes, I can hear you. Whoa! Whoa! Stephen Haley has a moment. Big moment. You can see he's trying to push very hard to catch up with Mydas and have another fight with him. He flashes the lights. Oh, flipping heck. Maybe to say to João Estevez, "Careful, son. I'm still here." There's battles all over the place. I honestly don't know where to look right now. Paul Stout, Johnny Elia and Danny Jones. This little trio, troublesome trio, fighting together. The headlights aren't on the Porsches. Watch them come on like the last corner. Charlie Stout is only just ahead of John Roberts here as well, you know. John had a 9-second pit stop. He's had a fantastic race as John. 11 places gained. Oh, no! Oh, I had to say it. Why do I open my stupid mouth? Oh. There's the headlights. Told you, last lap. I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire from commentary. I'm going to retire from saying people are doing well. Oliver Cowardine now has the most places gained with 11. But we need to look at this, man, because regardless of how it happened, Ed May has done another unbelievable job in this Aston Martin. He can't string a lap together, he says, but he can string a race together. Ed May takes his 3rd race win on the trot for H Motorsport and takes the lead of the championship with that. Andy Hopley makes it a 1-2 for H Motorsport. I think that's the first 1-2 of the season. Epic, epic stuff. Newcomer to the championship as of Silverstone, Dominic Brennan got his first podium in his first outing. Well, fast forward 2 weeks later, he's done it again. 2 podiums out of 2 for Dominic Brennan. He's going to be over the moon with that. And the very entertaining SimSport Racing International drivers, 4th and 5th. Dan Bathy is trying to hold on to 6th at the moment. He's got Byron Crawford right up his exhaust pipes. He is all over the back of him. But it looks like Dan, after his earlier demise as well with the incident with Gary Toll, he's going to be able to bring it home and score some very well-deserved and much-needed points ahead of Byron Crawford and Oliver Cowardine, most places gained in the race, with 11 positions gained. James Cummings and Gary Toll round out your top 10 with the flashing of the lights across the line. But Ed May, well, speaking of flashing the lights, I'm sure that button will get held down. H Motorsport take a 1-2 here at Zandvoort. Very, very tidy drive from the pair of them. Epic entertainment from the guys behind, but Dominic Brennan was some 20.4 seconds back from Andy Hopley. We'll get the race result in just a moment. We're just waiting for the last couple of cars to cross the line. Tom Slater comes home 17th. He's going to be followed by Danny Jones, who has no rear wing on his car as of the last couple of laps. Paul Goffin is going to be next. And is he out of fuel? I think he is. He is indeed. However, he is the last car to cross the line and will give us the fact now that we can look to the race results. There are your top 5 altogether on the road. Lovely drive from those guys. Ed May takes the win then, nearly 9 seconds clear of Andy Hopley, but that's a very well-deserved result for Andy. He's been pushing hard all season. He's had a lot of rotten luck, but then he unlocks it here at Zandvoort. Dominic Brennan, what a fantastic addition to the championship he's been. His second podium in as many races this season. Well done to Dominic. Mattis Niger finishes in 4th, just ahead of Stephen Haley after that epic battle between the two teammates. Dan Bathy recovers to 6th, with Byron Crawford 7th ahead of Oliver Carwadine. The 11th Racing Team B drivers doing a good job there. James Cummings finishes 9th. Gary Tall finishes in 10th after a very, very trying race, despite an extra pit stop as well, so fair effort to Gary. Charlie Stout impresses once again with 11th, ahead of John Roberts in 12th. Stuart Clark 13th with Paul Stout in 14th. Then it's Ryan Penny and Rob Sharp. Tom Slater finishes 17th ahead of Danny Jones in 18th position. And the last car on the lead lap was Paul Goffin. The cars that were one lap down are Johnny Elia, Heinz Mayer, as Ed puts it in the wall, João Estevez, Jared Coleman, Ralph Mayer as well. David Patching finishes 2 laps down with Andy Marston. Andrew Soper and Simon Povey, the 2 drivers not to finish, with Mark Johnson unfortunately not taking the start due to a PC crash. Andy Marston lines up on the start-finish line with Ed there. Maybe for some sort of photo op. Oh, okay. Well, we'll take a quick look back then at some of the action. We'll get everything all in wonderful slow motion for you. And there is your race winner. Now, we've interviewed him a lot in the last few weeks, so I'm not sure we'll have another interview with Ed May. But what I want to do, actually, yes, I'm so glad that he's jumped in for a chat. Stephen Haley joins me in the box. Stephen, I was so hopeful that you would jump in for a chat, mate. You had a hell of a fight all race long with your teammate Mattis. You must be loving that. I mean, no team orders for sure.
Sorry. Yeah, it was great fun. I was hoping for the slim little chance that he was going to let me have P4, but no, it was good fun. I think really enjoyed that, considering I didn't even own the track until an hour before we did the race.
Oh wow! Well, it's certainly a track that takes a bit of getting used to, isn't it? Because I mean, there's so much camber here. The flat corners really catch you out because when you get all the banked corners that you leather it around, it gives you that sort of false sense of security that the car can grip, doesn't it? Yeah.
There's a couple of corners which, in particular, which I'm not a massive fan of. The one where I spun, and the third corner, the left-hander. I just can't quite seem to hook it up right into the apex to pull it round. But yeah, you're right. There are a few corners which feel terrible, but there are a couple of corners which are just they're awesome. In fact.
Well, it's certainly a fun track when you get a lap together, but it's the getting a lap together bit that's the difficult part. Talk me through the rest of the season, though. I mean, it's a hell of a calendar we've got coming up. Are we going to see you and Mattis doing that pretty much every race? Because that looked hilarious.
I'm hoping so. Mattis seemed to have had had the little bit of the legs on me tonight, but previously history would tell us that the races that Mattis and I have running together, we've been very close, and we've had some mega battles over the year or two that we've been racing together. So hopefully, the rest of the races will be nothing will change.
Well, fingers crossed, mate, because that was very, very entertaining indeed. Anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to before I let you go tonight?
The Sim Sport lads, SSI, Sim Sport Racing International boys, and Cinderella. Hopefully she's watching.
Lovely stuff. Well, great to speak to you as always, Stephen. Well done, mate. And look forward to seeing you next time round. Nice one.
Cheers, Chaz, buddy.
Cheers.
Ta-ra, mate.
Great stuff. Like I said, very entertaining there between Stephen and his teammate Mydas. And actually, we can get the other side of the story as well, because we'll drag Mydas in here. Mydas, it's great to have you in the championship, mate, and another nationality on the board as well for the checklist. You must have really enjoyed that, because you and Stephen were constantly at each other's throats. Was it good fun?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was a really fun race. Beautiful.
And what did you make of driving these cars around Zandvoort? Because Stephen was just saying he didn't have the circuit long before he actually got out on track, but it certainly looked difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult track, you know, because a lot of different corners. But I really like this track and had really little practice only before the race, maybe 15 minutes. So I was hoping for good quali session and then hoping to stay with the fast guys.
Well, it certainly worked out, mate. I mean, a solid strategy as well. You know, there was no sort of risky business going on there. So it certainly got you the points. Now, we next go to Zolder, which is another narrow and twisty circuit, but the curbs are even worse there. What do you make of going there?
Oh, that's my favorite circuit, so I think I can make some good results there.
Well, we look forward
but
to
never drove a GT4 there, so I don't know.
Well, it's going to be an interesting mix, I think, because it's like the best of both worlds. It's like you've got no experience in this car around there, but it's your favourite circuit. So, I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued, Mydas. Either way, it's a pleasure to have you on board, mate. You're a really, really strong addition to this championship, and we obviously look forward to watching you race each week. Is there anyone that you would like to give a quick thanks to while I've got you?
Yeah, I would like to thank my wife, my son, and yeah, Simsport Racing team.
Cracking stuff. Well, great to speak to you, Mydas. I'm very, very pleased to finally speak to you after watching the racing. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Go on.
Right then, I'll tell you what. We said we wouldn't interview Ed, so maybe this doesn't count. But we'll drag in both the H Motorsport drivers, Ed May and Andy Hopley, after the first 1-2 of the season. Andy, we'll come to you first, mate, because at the end of the day, Ed can wait now. He's won the race. Talk me through that one, because it seemed like a really tidy run at the front. Obviously, it's a massive shame what happened to Simon, and I've got a hell of an apology to write for it, because most of that was down to me setting up the session wrong. But it looked like a really, really clean race from where you were. Not too much to worry about.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, to be fair. I mean, I'm full of cold, Chaz, so apologies. But
right.
That's kind of what I was asking for tonight, just a bit of a quiet one, especially after the past 2 rounds that have been pretty much disasters for me. But yeah, I mean, Ed's just been in a league of his own, and the start of the race, I think everybody had to deal with it. So everybody was in the same. Everybody's in the same situation, so I won't worry about it too much, mate. The Astons got absolutely mugged off the line because of the traction control. You just can't get them off the line. So, if it wasn't for Povey jumping the start, he'd have potentially jumped away with that one. But yeah, Ed is absolutely flying. So congratulations to Ed, and I'm just happy to sort of pull in behind him in second place.
Well, coming to you, Ed, I mean, to get a rate, I mean, I've reminded everybody enough tonight, as you've probably heard, because I know that you listen to the broadcast when you're driving, but you told me before tonight that not to expect anything from you because you can't string a lap rounds there together, or whatever, however you said it.
Yeah, I can't stand this track. I'm still going to stand by it. I can't get on with it, but it seems in the race just something came alive in me. I mean, all of the help that Andy gave me before the race, it worked wonderfully. There were a few corners that I was really struggling. Turn 3 particularly was a nightmare for me, and then that sort of chicane towards the end of the lap I couldn't get right. But Hopley stepped in, he helped me out the other day, and everything seemed to work out in the end. And yeah, shame what happened to Povey at the start, but like Andy said, we were all in the same boat. It was, sadly, he was the only one that really lost out in that situation, but I didn't want an asterisk next to it. I wanted to go out and take it, so in the second lap I was gunning for it and was really pleased to get that move all the way around the outside.
And obviously going forward in the championship, Andy, I mean, obviously as team manager yourself, is it now looking a little bit more likely in the team standings? Because I mean, you were right up there anyway, but you're really going to close it in now with almost maximum points from tonight. 90 points between the two of you. It's a hell of a score.
It is. It's something that's on the horizon. I wouldn't say it's at the forefront of my sort of driving at the moment. Coming back from 12 months away, I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things with a new setup and just really just trying to enjoy the sessions, and you know, it's a great group of guys. So we'll see what happens with the championship side of things. I think we've got a good chance with the team standings, like you said, but at the moment, mate, I'm really just trying to sort of get my head around it all again and just enjoy it.
Well, that's the best thing, mate. You know, that's the thing with sim racing. It can be so enjoyable at points. You know, it's just about getting into the right sort of atmosphere and the right mindset of things. But it's good to see you back, and it's good to have a chat with you again. Is there anyone?
Yeah, cheers, mate.
It's all good, mate. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to while I've got you?
Well, shout out to Ed. You know, what an absolute drive he's had, and you know, I could say that for the past 3-4 races. So big shout out to Ed. You know, he's really got a great attitude regardless of sim racing. He just seems to have a really good attitude towards things. So yeah, thanks for that, Ed. And obviously, you know, the Hope and Homes for Children that we're sponsoring on the car is obviously something that we want to push. So yeah, that's it really.
Fair play, mate. And coming to you, Ed, anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
I mean, I'm gonna share the love around, get a big old love in going. I mean, cheers, Andy, you've been brilliant. I mean, in the 2 races that you had before this one, they didn't go to plan, but you were still sticking around and helping me. There were so many other people that just packed it in, and you know, I'm trying not to say it, cleared off. They would have packed it in and cleared off, but you stuck with me and helped me out, and that's the reason why we've made it 3 in a row race wins for H Motorsport, and the first one too. So get in. That's a brilliant one. And I mean, yeah, see what we can do at Silverstone. And thank you, of course, Chaz and Annie Marston, all doing stuff behind the scenes for SRM. It's wonderful, and yeah, bring on the other rounds. Let's go.
Well, a fired up Ed May and a very humble Andy Hopley as well. Thank you very much, boys. It's a pleasure as always. We'll see you at Zolder next time round.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers,
Take
mate.
care.
Well, cracking stuff. There go the boys. And I hope you've enjoyed that one tonight, guys. And honestly, I have apologised to the drivers in multiple places for the standing start and the issues caused there. Obviously, that was not intentional. It's a very, very easy mistake to make, and these things do happen, unfortunately. But we move forward, and like I've said, Zolder is next up on the cards. It's going to be one hell of a race meeting there. But Ed May takes his 3rd win on the bounce here at Zandvoort. Can anybody stop him when it comes to the next one? We'll have to wait and see. But that's going to be in 2 weeks' time. So please just be patient. And we will be back with you very, very soon. Either way, thank you very much for watching, everybody. It's been a joy as ever. My name is Chaz Draycott. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.